Hi, I'm Leo Laporte. Time for Before You Buy. Coming up, Chad Johnson reviews the cameras we use here in the studio. There's a brand new glass laptop from HP, and we're all cone heads now. It's time for episode 21 of Before You Buy. I'll drink to that.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Before You Buy is brought to you by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. Hi, welcome to Before You Buy. Leo Laporte here. This is our product review show on TWiT where we get all these cool products in. Nicole Lee does that, and then we ask the staff, hey, who wants to review this thing? And I always get the most interesting gadgets. A little later on, I'm going to review a microphone designed for meetings. We've got a review from Iyaz. We give him all the laptops of a new laptop from HP, the Envy Spectre. Will you envy it? We'll find out. And we're going to also take a look at a new Windows phone. In fact, this is going to be interesting because our engineer, the technical director, Bryan Burnett's going to review it live, which means Nicole is going to be running the board. Okay, it's going to get a little wacky in here. But let's start off with the old redhead himself, Chad Johnson. Come on in, Chad, because he's going to review. This is odd. Canon sent us a camcorder to review, a camcorder we happen to know a little bit about.
Yeah, this is the camcorder. I believe we have around 35 of these in our studio. We were, and what's funny is they actually sent us the older version of this, and so we decided to just go ahead and review the new version, which we have in the studio.
We bought these. In fact, this is a good recommendation.
Right.
We bought 30 of them because we were looking for a camera to use for our broadcasts
That had HDMI out and that did 1080.
That was 1080p high-def video.
Right.
That was good enough quality, especially if you give it light, so that we could send out a really high quality.
Right.
In fact, we actually shoot in higher quality than we send out at this point. And I didn't want to spend a lot of money on cameras today because I figure in a couple of years, who knows what's going to be available.
Right.
So we went to CES a year ago, January of 2010, and looked at every camera, and yeah, this is the one we decided on. So this is the Canon VIXIA HF-G10, the camera that you'll see all over our studio. And is this the new one or the old one?
This is the newer version of it.
Okay.
This is our flagship consumer model.
So this is the top-of-the-line consumer camcorder.
Exactly. Okay. So it's right before you get to prosumer, where you get a bunch more manual features. But this actually has a lot of manual features for a consumer device.
It's actually a little big for a consumer camcorder. There are smaller ones out there, but you need that, I guess, for all the features.
Absolutely. So the MSRP of this device is $1,500, but street price is about $1,300.
So that's one of the reasons we liked it. Now that's a lot for a consumer camcorder, but it's a lot less than the kind of cameras we might have used.
Yeah, but once you take that step to prosumer, you're probably spending around $500 to $1,000 more.
Right, at least.
At least.
Yeah.
So this one of the big features is that it shoots in 1920 by 1080 with a high definition CMOS sensor. There is 32 gigabytes of internal storage.
That's kind of intriguing.
Exactly. 32 gigabytes, that's a lot. And you don't even have to put an SD card slot in at all. Now, it does actually come with 2 SD card slots. So super high expandability on the memory side of this camera.
So you could have as much as 3 times 32 on here.
Absolutely.
96 gigabytes of storage. How much in high quality, how many minutes is 32 gigabytes? Is it it's about an hour?
Yeah, about an hour.
Okay.
About an hour.
Okay. So 3 hours recording time.
And it depends on what there are different qualities
settings
of you can shoot in different formats as well. So the other thing is that this has a 10x optical zoom lens, and it features a 3-inch touchscreen. So all of your settings, when you get into menus, it's all on the touchscreen instead of having physical buttons, which actually allows you to have a lot more settings than on other consumer camcorders. Now, one thing to point out is that is a resistive touchscreen, not a capacitive touch. So it actually comes with a teeny tiny stylus to help you.
That's pretty silly.
Yeah, and you have to dig in your fingernail.
Do we use that when we use this?
It's usable with just your fingernail, and but you can see that if I just try to slide just using my normal fingertip, it's not gonna.
You really want to use a stylus.
You really want to use your fingernail.
You know, these are ideal for us because we're not changing settings. We go to manual and we just leave it.
Right. And so some of the features that this has outside of just its base settings are HDMI out.
Right.
It has face detection, so it'll automatically adjust its. There you go. It's focus to whatever face.
You see it? It saw my face and it focused on there.
Right.
Yeah.
See, there you go. It shows a little preview of that. It has focus assist, so if you want to manually focus, it'll do a digital zoom in so you can see those lines.
We use that all the time. That's
absolutely.
actually a very nice feature.
Absolutely.
Because it's zoomed in, it's a lot easier to focus.
Now, because it's on autofocus, it's not going to do it for you now.
So we have to turn off the autofocus.
Right.
I'll turn it to manual.
Perfect.
And then you'll be able to see this. So I'm going to now zoom in.
And I believe
maybe I'm doing something wrong.
No worries. Focus. Change that to manual focus.
You have to do it in the...
get out of that setting.
So
there you go.
See, you have a lot of control, but you got a lot of menus to get there. And now when I...
and then we have to dig in. So one thing is that I've been...
You see the problem, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of features.
And because we're actually in the middle of recording, I can't get into my...
that's fine.
But anyway, in a lot of settings. And after using this camera for I mean, we've been in the studio now for around a year. No, around 9 months. So I've used this camera for around 9 months.
Yeah, you have a lot of experience with it.
And so settings are normally where you'd expect them to be. There are a few that are pretty weird, like turning on the focus assist is into, you have to hit menu, and then you have to hit menu a second time to dig into a different menu.
We were having some issues with that.
Right. So there's a little bit of funkiness with that. Right. Image stabilization is pretty good. Right now you're on manual focus, so and you can actually just hit that, change it back. It has a little quick button to whatever you had last time.
Right.
Now then, one thing that I didn't quite love, but is a feature, is it has these really, really cheeky video overlays. And so here, let me...
Why would you use that stuff? I know they build these in the camcorders.
See, it's called decoration.
Yeah,
I can hit that, and it's not named really well. And if we go... So Burke is actually stars, hooray! And this is baked into the video. So there's once you do it live,
and
you can't get rid of it.
To me moving? No, it's just...
No, he's actually touching. Burke is behind the camera, touching on the touchscreen. Right.
Aww.
So it's really cheeky.
You don't want this.
Oh,
There's no reason for this.
We love these really great...
You've never seen us use this.
Right.
We didn't even know we had this capability.
Right. So this is a more... I mean, this is pandering to the consumer, not really to the professional with that sort of stuff. But there are also, because this is focused more on a consumer instead of on a professional, there's a lot of scene modes. So you can have a cine mode, which makes it look like a movie. You can have... There's a spotlight mode for when you're shooting... your kid at a reception or something. There's snow mode. So there's a lot of scene modes to go into that. So
snow mode is handy if you do skiing, and you'll often get very muddy lighting. So if it's sensitive to that, that's good. That's nice. That's a handy thing.
Right.
It is big. Yep. I guess that to pack all those features, and you got to make a big camera, and it's a little pricey given the cost of camcorders these days.
Right.
Why don't you give us the pros and cons?
Yeah, my pro would be that it has really good manual controls. It has really good image quality for the size and for the market that it's aiming for, and it has 32 gigabytes of internal storage.
Lots of storage.
Lots of storage. Right out of the boat, you don't have to buy any SD card at all.
Yeah.
My cons would be that the resistive touchscreen is pretty sluggish. It's not too easy to work with, and it's pricey, coming in at a street price of around $1,300.
So the question is, if I'm in the market for a camcorder, should I buy the Canon VIXIA HF G10?
The question is yes, I would buy this. It would feel really silly of us to say no, don't buy.
We bought
when we bought
30 of them. We spent well over $50,000 on cameras like this.
Right.
So, but we're doing something a little special.
Right. And so this is for the high end. If you need a high end camera that isn't going to break the bank and that has some features that we really enjoyed, like HDMI out, and
a lot of people don't buy camcorders anymore. You know, they use their phones or their still camera. A lot of still cameras. Excuse me, a very good video. All right. Thank you, Chad Johnson.
Of course. Thanks.
Chad is our newest producer. We stole him from Bryan Brushwood, and now he produces This Week in Google, This Week in Tech, and Mac Break Weekly for us on the TWiT network. All right, let's move along, and we're going to take a look now at a laptop. I had this on Regis and Live with Kelly in January, I think it was. We had seen this at the Consumer Electronics Show. It's not exactly an Ultrabook. Well, I'll tell you what. We gave it to Iyaz Akhtar, and he gave it his big test. Iyaz, what do you think of the HP Envy Spectre 14?
Hey, I'm Iyaz Akhtar with TWiT, and we're going to review not this TV, but this HP Envy Spectre. Now, it's an Ultrabook from HP, and let's take a look at the design right off the bat. You can see probably yourself because this is one giant sheet of Gorilla Glass. If we try to open this up, there's also the glass continued in the palm rest. It's kind of neat. That's their gimmick here. Also, the front here is covered in glass as well, so there's one continuous piece over there. Let's go around for the ports. We have a mini display port, HDMI, Gigabit Ethernet. Now, one of the curiosities here is because it's so thin, there's a little jaw here. So a little flimsy, but it's there. USB 3.0, USB 2.0, a combination headphone and microphone jack, a full SD card slot. Your SD card will not stick out of this. It'll go right in. Around, let's see, look, no optical drive. It's an Ultrabook. Of course you knew that. But on this side, we have some dedicated things. That's right, that's the Beats logo because this HP comes with Beats. There's a volume dial, there's a mute button, and this Beats button over here actually brings up a piece of software, which is pretty much a mixer. Let's open this up, which is actually, that was much easier than normal. If you take a look at how small this lip is, you make sure you have some fingernails and they're strong, because to open it up, it's a little bit of a challenge. Now, this thing is on. We have a 14-inch display. It's a 1600 by 900 display. It can get pretty bright. I'm going to turn it up to full brightness. And let's talk about the keyboard. The keyboard is backlit. You'll see, again, no dedicated volume controls because there's this dial. And you can see on screen, there's a Beats logo as it spins. And sometimes that doesn't work, as I found out during my tests. I'm going to close off this application. And so what do we have? We have a backlit keyboard. We have good travel on the keys. And it's actually, I think the travel is a little bit better than some of the other Ultrabooks I've actually used, but it's not very mushy. It's a very good keyboard. Trackpad, very good. Now, I was concerned because it's at the same surface, same area as the palm rest. No accidental inputs. HP did a really good job with this trackpad. Multi-touch worked very well. For specs, this is an Ultrabook, so you know what to expect. 128 gigabyte SSD, 4 gigabytes of RAM, Intel Core i5, pretty much standard stuff on every Ultrabook out there. What HP did to make this thing different is the design. Again, it's hard to ignore the design. Lots of glass. The glass picks up fingerprints, if you like that. I don't know why you touch the back of it like this, but it does pick up fingerprints. So have a cloth handy for that. It's thin, it's light. It doesn't look like a lot of other Ultrabooks. I'm sure people will compare it to the MacBook, but they didn't invent the chiclet keyboard by any means. For performance, it was pretty good. You know, it did everything every Ultrabook can do. Run 1080p videos just fine. Audio was fine. Things are okay. Oh, by the way, this has Beats audio. This is one of the selling points to this HP Spectre. And what I've noticed is at full volume, there was some buzzing to the casing, which is a little bit disconcerting because if you're going to have your glowing red B, that's always there, by the way, you might want to hope that this thing has really good audio quality. The bass isn't that great on the inbuilt speakers, but what do you expect? It's a laptop. Pros and cons on this thing. Okay, pros for this. This HP Spectre is quite stylish. Let's face it, it's really flashy, very pretty. The trackpad is very good and responsive, big fan of that. And it's thin and light, like lots of Ultrabooks. For cons, well, it's kind of unremarkable. The specs aren't really that interesting because every Ultrabook does this already. And because of that, I'm calling this thing pricey. It's around $1,200 on Amazon. I think HP prices at $1,300. That's pretty pricey for what you're getting here. At this price point for the HP Envy Spectre, I can't say to buy this. Unless you love flash and glass, this is a don't buy. I'm Iyaz Akhtar, and this is the HP Envy Spectre.
He's right. I can't open it. Is that a hinge? Is that a latch? I don't know. This is crazy. Also, glass, good idea until you actually use it. So I'm going to have to agree with Iyaz on that one. All right, next we're going to review a phone. And for that, we're going to, okay, you ready for the big switch? I don't know how well this is going to work. Bryan Burnett is what we call our technical director. He runs the operation here when we're doing Before You Buy. He's going to swap with our producer, Nicole Lee, so he can come over here and review Samsung's Focus 2. It's the latest Windows Phone, running Windows Phone 7.5, available on AT&T. Hi, Bryan.
Hey, Leo.
Had you ever used Windows Phone before?
Yeah, part of the reason Nicole had me do this phone is because I did the Samsung Focus
1.
S.
Yes,
Yeah, which is a little bit different than from this phone.
I have to say, I like that it's a white one. I think more and more we're seeing different colors. They're not all just black phones, and this is kind of a good-looking phone. Tell me about the Samsung Focus 2.
Well, it only comes in that color.
It's only in white,
and it's that glossy kind of feeling too. So, unlike the Samsung Focus S, which had kind of like a texture to the back of it,
right?
That one, not so much.
Nice looking screen, though. I have to say, that's a pretty screen.
Yeah, it's a 4-inch Super AMOLED, just like on the other one.
Right.
And
pretty snappy. All the Windows phones are a single core processor.
Single core, and it's just the OS is designed to work that way.
And I find that actually, because the OS expects no more, it always is very snappy. They really do a nice job.
Yeah.
So how did it work as a phone? You were using it on the AT&T network?
I was, and that's part of the appeal of this phone is that it's 4G LTE.
Ah, so you get the high speed.
Right.
Now, we don't have that here in Petaluma. We're getting it soon.
Getting it soon.
But many areas, I think it's 45 plus, maybe more now, cities in the U.S. have LTE.
And I did go
Did you take it to San Francisco?
I took it to the city and tested it out, and it wasn't stellar. It was about 5 megabytes down, 1 up. So it was good, but the problem with using 4G with that phone's battery, which is only 1750 milliamps, is that it drains the battery pretty quick.
I bet it does.
And I only got about half a day out of it without charging.
That's a real drag.
Yeah. What else can I say? Oh, and another con for that phone is that it only has 8 gigabytes of storage, and there's no SD card expansion slot. That's me. I do like that a lot about Windows phones.
I think it's the best reason to get a Windows phone is the Xbox Live integration. It's fantastic. Your game points can go from the phone to your Xbox Live, and it does have your little what does Microsoft call it? Not
achievements.
No, the little guy.
My avatar.
The Weeble. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. Is that because you play? Did you buy that?
That's because I played Halo. Yeah,
it's a Halo outfit. You look like Master Chief, the Junior.
It looks like me underneath the helmet.
Yeah, well, that's the good thing about that.
One thing also with that phone is if you're a new user, then you get 7 gigabytes of cloud storage via SkyDrive.
Yeah.
So,
and like all Windows phones, it has a dedicated camera button. And one of the things that Windows Phone does very well is jump to the camera. You don't even have to unlock it. You can just go right to the camera directly.
Right.
All the phones are doing that now, though, I have to say.
And the half button push for the focus is really nice.
Is the camera really? It's like a real camera. Let me take a picture of Bryan here. Is it a decent camera? Do you think?
It's a decent camera. It's about average. When you take it outside to take pictures, it kind of gets blown out, and if you fiddle with the settings, it does decent.
Yeah, there he is.
Oh, hey there.
Hey there, Bryan.
Yeah, it looks a little blown out.
8 megapixels, 5 megapixels?
It's a 5 megapixel back camera, and then on the front it has VGA.
Now that's good because some Windows phones, many of the early Windows phones, including I think the Samsung Focus S, did not have a front-facing camera. So now you can use Skype, even though they still haven't put Skype.
Right, which is nice.
Windows Phone. Someday they will. So there it is. That's the Samsung Focus 2. Pros?
4G.
Yeah.
Where it's available. Yeah. And it's only $50 with a 2-year contract. So it's kind of like an entry-level smartphone. Also, the screen is really nice.
I think it's a beautiful screen.
Yeah.
Samsung does great screens. Yeah.
But for the cons, the camera it's good. It'll get by, but the battery life suffers because of the 4G LTE, and then the no expandable memory is kind of a knock on it.
Yeah, and only 8 gigs.
Only 8 gigs.
Gosh, that's not much. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. Let me ask you: would you don't include whether it's Windows Phone or not? Assuming you wanted a Windows Phone, would you buy this?
After playing around with the Lumia 900, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, I think the Lumia 900 is the one to get. I agree with you.
But it's nice.
How much is this with the contract on AT&T? Is it $200?
It's $50 for 2 years.
That's the difference because the Lumia is $300.
Right.
So
That's the difference.
$50. Although I always wonder why people are so anxious to save $150 when you're going to spend that much, every couple of months on your data.
Right. I think Samsung came out with this for AT&T to kind of compete with the T-Mobile's Lumia 710.
Got it. It is. It's in that market.
Right.
Well, no, thank you, Brian. I appreciate it.
Thanks for
Brian
having me on the
Burnett,
show.
who's the guy who pushes all the buttons behind the scenes on the show. I'm going to let you go back to do that, Nicole Lee. You did a great job, Nicole. Had you ever done that before? Yes, I have. Oh, you have. Oh, I was about to pat you on the head. Nice job, Nicole. One last review on Before You Buy this week, and it's from me. And I've had this for a while, and I've really kind of gone back and forth on it. This is the Microcone from Dev Audio. Were you ever able to get my screen up? Because you really got to see my screen if you want to understand what the Microcone is all about. There you go. I've been recording everything we've done over the last few minutes using this software. Now, let me tell you, this Microcone is kind of an unusual kind of microphone. You see this? We've got 6 different speakers here. Let me open our staff meeting, which I recorded earlier today. That might be a better example. I'll stop the current recording and show you what the staff meeting looks like. On the staff meeting, we had, I think we had 15 people in there. And that's one little issue is that as the staff meeting goes, you know, different people are speaking. And since there's only really 6 different areas, you'll have to choose from attendees as they speak. In fact, you spend a lot of time fiddling around with this thing as you're attending the meeting. But there's some nice features. It shows how long the meeting went, in this case 48 minutes, who was there, who spoke, and when. I can, you know, change names if I want to. This is all the different amounts, people on the table. And see, the size of the dot relates to how many people spoke. And look at this keyword summary. This is kind of interesting. I'll explain a little bit of what's going on. As the meeting's going on, you have these buttons that you can click. In fact, there's also an iPhone app that will tie into it. I'll show you right here. So if you want to sit back from your computer and just use the iPhone app, you can also just tie the iPhone in. Whoops, let me open it up again. Tie the iPhone in and then click the buttons as you go. You see there's 4 buttons. The exclamation mark is for an important item. So you're saying something important happened in the meeting, you tap that button as you speak. The blue checkbox is for an action item. The green decision diamond is if you've made a decision. And the question mark is if there's a question to be answered. Now, come back here and look what happens on my desktop. As I use those buttons, you'll see there's highlights down here of different things that happened. And we had various action items. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. That got a little peanut in my throat. Should never, just a little tip, never eat nuts before you do a television program. I mean, just something in case that ever happens to you, Brian. And you got to do a TV show. Don't eat nuts. I blame Patrick Norton, who made me do that. So you see, I have highlighted. And in fact, I can go to the highlighted section and play it back.
What are you doing? Who's writing him on what we need? Who has been the point person with you then?
Now listen to the audio.
Tony, has it been you?
I was until Colin took over.
So this was a fairly big meeting with about 10 people in here all over the room. Tony's way at the end of the table. Lisa's pretty close to the microphone.
Since you were doing the website.
And you can hear what they're saying. So I have a pretty decent recording
I've worked with him in the past.
of who's talking and when. That's
and
Liz.
He's great. Everyone has seen his work. It's amazing.
And then that's Sarah. And then I can go to another action item. So that's I mean, that's pretty cool, right?
Angus a note, copy Colin and myself and Leo on it.
So they also have an interesting transcription feature. Now, this uses nuance voice transcription. And if you've ever used that on your iPad or your iPhone, it's the same kind of, I think it's the same engine as Dragon Naturally Speaking. They own a nuance as well. You know that the better the quality of the recording on the microphone, the better the transcriptions. And as you can see here, the transcriptions aren't great. They're not going to take the place of a human transcription. But by using these transcriptions, and most of the words are in there sort of okay, you get this interesting tag cloud in the overview. So you can kind of see what things people were talking about. Links, meeting, working, show, make, coming, shows, she's, yeah, link, good stuff. So that's kind of gives you some idea of what people were talking about. And if you were at the meeting, I think you could read the transcription and get some value out of this. Lisa's saying, do not show this transcription. No, we didn't say anything important. So this is a way of recording a meeting,
hopefully by July 1 it'll be live.
Getting an idea of who was speaking at the meeting, getting a transcription and a tag cloud. And the thing I found the most useful is to see the highlights of the meeting, whether you have something important, an action item, a decision-making moment, or a question. You've got those elements highlighted down here. Okay, so that's the Microcone at work. Now, let me tell you a little bit. about some of the negatives. $359. It's expensive. It looks like it's 6 microphones. It's one microphone, but it's using some sort of array location to get some idea of where around the microphone it worked. If you want to use the app I'm using, it's an additional $5, and you have to pay to get credits for nuanced transcription. I was able with the $5 to transcribe this entire 48-minute meeting. So I guess that's what the initial $5 went to. The iPhone app is free, but it does have to tie to the app on the desktop. The app is available in the Mac App Store and not on Windows. This is a Macintosh-only application. You can, of course, use the Microcone on Windows. You just won't have the advantage of this application. There are some other things you can do. You can email the transcription. You can save it as a MP3 file. You can, save it onto your hard drive. I think there's a lot I used about half of my 100 coin balance to do the 48 minutes. So you get a pretty decent amount of time. I think you get 100 minutes worth of transcription with the $5. And you can buy more for another $5 at a time. So there is some advantage to this. I'd say the pros are it is a good way to record a meeting because you do have the audio. You hear it. Even people, it was a very large room and spread all out. You could hear everybody pretty well. The software does let you mark important points in the meeting, so it's handy to have that this was a decision point or this was an action item and go back to listen to it. You can also track meeting attendees and who spoke and how much with the software. And also, I think the transcription and tag clouds are somewhat handy. I mean, it gives you some idea of what was spoken about, but you're also going to want to listen in addition to look at the transcription. The cons, $359, and they charge you more for each transcription that you do. It's a little expensive. The transcription itself is, as I mentioned, pretty inaccurate. And I would say this is going to do a better job if it's a small enough meeting that there's, say, 6 people, so you can see each person individually. When you have a meeting as big as we did, 20 people, you kind of have an area of people talking, but you can't individually identify each of the speakers. Should you buy it? I think at this price, no. It's a little too expensive, especially with the limitations of the software. On the other hand, if you do a lot of meetings, there's going to be some real value to this. It's the first thing I've seen that lets you do this kind of recording and transcription of a meeting at a fairly affordable price. My basic recommendation is no, do not buy unless you know it's something you really need. That's the Microcone from Dev Audio, and that's our show. We want to thank all our reviewers, Iyaz Akhtar, Bryan, Burnett, Chad Johnson, and, of course, Nicole Lee for running the board and producing this show. We hope you enjoy it. Remember, all of our reviews are posted on YouTube, on the TWiT YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/TWiT, so you can always see them after the fact. We'd love to get your feedback, your suggestions, and your requests for stuff you'd like us to review. You can do that at our email address, byb@twit.tv. We record this show. We are probably going to move times soon, but for now anyway, we continue to record this show 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday evenings. Let's see, 5 p.m. would be right about midnight UTC worldwide, just so you know if you'd like to watch live outside the United States. Thanks for joining us. I'm Leo Laporte. Remember, you got to watch before you buy. Bye-bye, everybody.